I have titled this episode, 4 Bassists That Will Change the World. I'm a fan of big titles like that. I'm Jason Heath. This is Contrabass Conversations, and this is footage from the 2017 International Bradetich Competition, the second International Bradetich Competition. I was down there. Jeff Bradetich brought me down to cover the event. We live streamed it on Facebook. We did all kinds of other activities while we were down there, including some interviews with the 4 finalists, who also played the finals, certainly. So what this episode is a compilation of some clips of these 4 finalists, and they are Szymon, Marciniak, Dominik, Wagner, Marek, Romanowski, and Mikyung, Soung. This is a compilation of them talking about the bass and, of course, playing the bass. So I'll talk about each one of them before we put their segment on. I thought this would be an interesting way to experience this. And if you want to check out the video of these, there's great video shot by Jack Unziker. Thank you, Jack. And those are on YouTube. There's a link in the show notes for that. But this is also a fun way if you're driving or running or cleaning or cooking or whatever to take in 4 rising stars. And before I get into that, are these the only 4 people out of the nearly 20 at the Bradetich competition that are going to change the world of double bass? Of course not. I just like titles that are provocative and make people click. So 4 Bassists That Will Change the World is one of those titles. But so many amazing artists and so many past podcast guests were there, and I got a chance to hear like Nina DeCesar, Sam Suggs, and many others. So while these were the 4 that were ultimately selected, and Dominik Wagner ended up being the first prize winner, there were so many phenomenal players at that event, and it was so inspiring to see what's up in the bass world. So we're going to start today with Szymon Marciniak, who I consider a personal friend. I've had such a great time getting to know Szymon. I've had him on the podcast. There's a link to that if you haven't checked it out. Szymon Marciniak, contrabassconversations.com/Szymon Marciniak. You can check out his episode. And we talk all about, in that episode, the 3rd Frank Proto Sonata, which Frank wrote for Szymon. And he performed at ISB, but also at the 2016 Bass Europe event in Prague, which is where I met Szymon for the first time. And we followed up with this great interview, and it was so great to see him in Texas and playing 3 magnificent and inspiring rounds. This is Szymon performing the Paganini 9 variants by Frank Proto and chatting about where he sees the bass going.
We are in a very exciting time, I think, of the bass. I think that bass is just still unexplored territory because it was developing much later than the other string instruments. It went other ways. We still don't have a standard tuning. We still don't have a standard size instrument. Whatever instrument you pick up, it's set up in different ways. So I met Frank in Rochester, 2013 convention, when I was actually really having my debut. I never been before to any ISB conventions. I was put right away as a headliner on recommendation of Nicholas Walker, in fact. And so Frank Proto was in attendance, and I played the 9 variants on Paganini, and that's how we met. And about a year later, we started talking about the project, maybe he writing me some piece. I didn't honestly believe that it would happen so soon, because I knew he's in demand and people asking him amazing musicians that he wrote for, and he's busy all the time. But nevertheless, it did happen. So in 2015, he wrote this Sonata number 3, which I had pleasure to premiere with Evan Mitchell at Colorado, which was the next ISB convention. And right after that, we did that recording project. And we just took since our recital program was consisting of new compositions, there was Dubignon's sonata written for Thierry. However, at this point, never recorded. Plus, there was a composition that we played also as a premiere, which won at the David Walter composition competition of the ISB, where I was asked to judge the summer before. And I'm happy I did, because I through that was my thought. You never know if I maybe pick up something. It doesn't matter if it wins or not, but maybe I want to include this to my repertoire. So these 3 pieces we featured in the recording, having a little encore of the composition that another Dutch composer that I collaborated with several times, Giel Meiring, wrote for me, The Ultimate Workout. I also played around in different places. It is on YouTube, everybody can see. Yeah, so this just the first movement we recorded from that work, to have sort of an encore, which became a very nice 1 hour long program. And so it is released as a DVD film, and it's the same, so to speak, audio track as a CD also. I don't set any limits for me as to which direction musically the piece should go. If I like the piece for whatever reason, is it the form, is it architecture, is it the way it sounds? Like when I heard Éclore for the first time, it hooked me because it starts in the high, only with harmonics, almost sounding like a flute or something, and then goes to the depth of the instrument. So you almost have like 3 instruments in one piece. And this hooked me when I want to play this piece. This is something in the same way in Regreps of Georgi Makashvili, where he really so beautifully presents music that comes close to from where he comes. It's his folk dance elements, the rhythmic element, of course. And I think there's just great potential in the resonance of the bass to explore this. I really find it very inspiring to be able to help young people and recognize some of their problems and identify with this. Some of them I had myself, and it's always different, as you know, teaching. Some people you see very clearly what's the problem, some you have to take more time. but it's very engaging process that helps us teachers grow too, of course. I come from Poland originally, and I started my education as a pianist very early. I was 6, very traditional start of education, like it is in Eastern European countries, of course, very conservative. I had all ear training and theory classes and everything. And I was not the best pianist, I think. And my teacher actually suggested to me after a few years that I might think about changing the instrument. I was always getting slightly lower grades because I played too easy repertoire. I was technically not very efficient. And I honestly don't remember exactly why and how it happened, but my dad suggested the double bass. Why don't you try the double bass? Because all kids in my school at the time, also very conservative approach, they either played piano or violin. I didn't want to play violin, and I think it was too late when I was 11 to start violin. It's quite late, really. And then I've heard some kids playing cello, and I thought that this is the ugliest sounding instrument because they all played so out of tune, ugly sound, and I thought I never want to play this instrument again, never ever. And the bass was something that I didn't know much about. I've seen it in orchestra, of course, and I've seen it in a jazz band, but I've actually seen it playing. I never heard it individually, how it really sounds. And it got me interested, but then also I went just to see like an accompaniment class of older colleagues of mine. They were like 20, so they were all gurus for me, of course. I was just 11. And they played, I don't know if it was Dragonetti or it was one of those pieces with the high harmonics, and I was like, wow, so these high notes are on this instrument also. Because I wasn't surprised with the low ones, but then the high ones. And I was waking up the other day and thinking, did I dream of that they played this high note there on this instrument? I said, yeah, but it was really there. Oh. And that was my first love of the bass, and I really got into it. You know, I played electric guitar at the same time, and at some point I went more seriously into bass. I found the right teacher after the first 3 years, and from that point I was working really seriously on the bass, and I knew that I would become a bass player. I had first finished my education in Poland. I was actually studying with the same teacher for about 8 years, but the first few years were in Poland. And he was, well, you don't know the name, but I can mention his name was Kurzawa. It sounds very Japanese to some people, but he was Polish. He was the oldest, actually like a senior teacher, professor of bass in the Polish school. And he was a very experienced teacher at the time. He was just beginning of his 60s, and he helped me not just with the technique, but first thing and the most important thing he did, he really taught me how to love the instrument and love the music I played. And the things that I played at the time were probably quite simple pieces, music, but he never ever said to me, you know, our repertoire is not like the high standard, or you know, you're gonna end up in orchestra anyway or something, like you're never gonna be solist. He always just embraced and encouraged that feeling of, you know, this is the great music we can do on the bass, and it's such an interesting instrument. He was really advocate of that. So, and another thing, he was really like my mentor in every sense. He was almost like my second father. It's a very probably old school kind of approach of a teacher. He was really full-time teacher, and he helped me to finish my school actually quicker. I did my 2 last years in 1 year, because meanwhile he got a proposal to become professor at the Hochschule in Düsseldorf in Germany. And so that led to the fact that I moved to Düsseldorf when I was 18, and then I was his student for another, I believe, 4 years there at the Hochschule, so which I think was very lucky turn of events for me, because from there everything else emerged. After 6 years, I felt that I needed a refreshment and change. Also, probably because I got the job very soon, very early. I was very young, and I felt that I still perhaps could do other things. While the orchestra job is a compromise, because it depends probably on the orchestra too. But I used to have some time off, but everything was quite fixed. This is something I tried in my recitals in the last couple of years. As my knowledge of repertoire expanded, I really want for any recital to just tell a story from beginning to the end.
Szymon, beautiful playing and great to hear you in this format. I just can't wait to see you again in person. Hope it won't be too long. And before we go on to our next person, which is Dominik Wagner, I'd like to thank the Bass Violin Shop. And if you are traveling the United States and you need a bass rental, and that's something that we need more and more of with the challenges of transporting our own instruments, check out bassviolinshop.com. They offer a variety of rental options for either seasoned musicians or first-timers. You can do a long-term rental, you can do a short-term rental, whatever fits your needs, they'll set you up. So if you're attending a festival, doing a recital, doing a workshop, and you need a bass, get in touch with the Bass Violin Shop for a short-term rental. Thanks for sponsoring the podcast, guys. And we are moving on to Dominik Wagner, who was born in Vienna in 1997. I graduated college in 1998 when he was 1 year old. I feel old. He was a member of the Vienna Boys Choir and was an alto soloist, actually. So music has been something that he's been immersed in his entire life. So cool to hear him play these rounds, and he performed for the finals Andres Martin's wonderful concerto. Andres is a former podcast guest. If you haven't listened to his episode, super fascinating, and enjoy this feature on the second international Bradetich competition. First place winner, it's Dominik Wagner.
I mean, if you look at the last few years, the level has been rising like crazy, and I think it will continue like this. I mean, you can maybe compare it to the cello to 100 years ago. Back then, there were already quite a few really good cellists, and then, lucky enough for all the cellists today, there have been many amazing teachers, and that's why the level nowadays is crazy. And I hope, but I also think the same thing will happen with the bass. And I try to impact it with lots of projects I do. Like there's a project called Rhapsody in School. It's in Germany and Austria, where every time when I have a big concert, I get the opportunity to play at a school nearby. To have 1 hour with a class, I can play, I can talk, I can answer questions and just show them how the bass works. And I also do lots of concerts with the Jeunesse Austria. And they also have many concert series for children. I think in next season there will be about 15 concerts where I will play with the clarinetist together for many, many children in the age between 5 and 10. So I think these projects are very important that they see that the bass can sound nice. It's an interesting instrument, and maybe some of them will even start. That's what I hope. First with cello, and then, as you said earlier, then I saw the light and started with bass when I was 10.
After 2 years, I changed to the university in Vienna. I was pretty lucky that they had a program for young kids to be educated. And I've been studying there for 6 years. And then, ever since then, I've been studying in Nuremberg with Mark. My father is a composer, as you probably already know, and my mother is a cellist. That's how I got the idea of playing cello. I really liked her playing, so I wanted to start even sooner, but when I was 3, I tried the cello the first time, and my mother said it was so bad that she didn't allow me to start, so I had to wait. But yeah, then when I was 4, I started. But I got never forced or anything. I was very lucky. If they had forced me to practice, I would have probably just said, no, I won't play at all. You know, many people have like a goal. I want to have an orchestra position at this age, I want to teach at this age somewhere. I just say I want to get as far as I possibly can for now, and in maybe 4 or 5 years I will start with auditions, or maybe if it really works out, then maybe I don't even have to. So, but it's not like for me it's not a bad thing. I really like playing in orchestras. I'm often playing in WDR orchestra as the principal bassist now, because one position is free, has been free for many years. So they often invite different people, and yeah, I really enjoy orchestra and chamber music and solo. But in the end, I would like to become a teacher somewhere at a university, because that's what I like most. I'm already teaching often quite a few students, cellists and bassists, also cellists. It's very nice, and yeah, that would be my goal in the end, to teach. Anna-Sophie Mutter was searching for quite some time for a new bassist in her foundation. It just used to be Roman Patkolo and only him for so many years.
Yes.
And now she was searching for someone else to have in her foundation. And I was lucky that Klaus Trumpf recommended me. Then I had to play for her. That was probably one of the most exciting moments in my life. But she was so nice. She's such a nice person. So it was really fine. And ever since then, I started, at first I started playing in the Anna-Sophie Mutter Virtuosi in the orchestra. And we played some concerts. And 1 year later, I just got the mail, yeah, you are now accepted to be a member of the foundation. So that was very surprising, and I was very happy, of course. And ever since then, I got a few concerts also. And just recently, we played in Copenhagen a concert together. And also, when I have problems with something, she always tries to help me. I had like problems with my shoulder and with my neck, and I still have them, kind of, but it's getting better. And she immediately after I told her, she got me she got me to the best specialists in Germany, and they immediately looked, what's wrong, what could be the problem. So it's really amazing. She's a really great person, and she always tries to help.
Next up, we have Marek Romanowski, who I was actually staying with during the competition. He and I were staying at the same place, and it was great to get to know him and his accompanist and chat with them about life in Poland, life in Eastern Europe as a classical musician, as a double bassist, as a double bass soloist. He has won so many competitions. I don't even know where to begin. I have a link in the show notes for that. He's starting to do some teaching in Poland. He's performing solo recitals, performing in orchestra, doing all kinds of things there. What a great talent. And he also performs Frank Proto's 9 variants on Paganini.
Have to get rid a little bit of our double bass complex, which I can see clearly after my colleagues. Sometimes now it's double bass, let's play out of tune. No, we don't have to be worried about it. But considering all the mini bass things that are going right now, that very young people start to play the instrument. Of course, it will have a huge influence on the technique and the possibilities. Maybe that's hopefully it will also encourage people to get more interested to organize a concert with double bass. And hopefully in a couple of years, as one of the European professors told me, we will take this piece of solo stage cake from the violinist, cellists and pianists, and we will put the double bass in there, because this is something what I would be really dreaming about, to see more concert announcements including double bass concerto, not only violin or piano, because it's especially, you can see it in Poland, it's always piano, violin, violin, piano, cello, piano, violin, cello. My father just suggested me to try the music school. Actually, my parents really didn't believe that I can make it, because always the children of the musical families are going to this entrance exams, and I was just like out of the environment completely. But I was lucky to get there to the school, and I started to play the violin. And I finished the third class of the primary school with a very, very low grade. And then they suggested me or to leave the music school completely or to switch to another instrument. I had possibility to choose from 3 winds and double bass. And as I was already used to a string instrument, I really wanted to stay with the string instrument, so I decided to pick up the bass. Yeah, it's pretty interesting thing right now with what is going on in the double bass environment in general. We are really going on. The development since a couple of years is really strong, and hopefully the possibilities for us will be much better in a couple of years than they are right now. The other thing is, I think we have to encourage people responsible in other institutions that actually the double bass can do really nice solo concert, because I think that's the matter what we are facing, what I am facing very usual. We are proposing some kind of order recital of the concert, and they are just asking the question, who will come to the double bass concert? That's I think that's the very common problem. I'm trying to find out the pieces less known, written already for double bass, but not really often played. For example, I brought recently to Poland the Sonata by Lowell Lieberman, which is a really good piece. And of course, I think we have to encourage this new generation of the composers to be more interested in double bass, which I think it's going in a quite good direction because they see the possibilities of the instrument, the extremely huge color possibilities for the instrument. So I think the new music is pretty important too.
We wrap up today's episode with Mikyung Soung, who was the honorable mention and the audience, the online audience favorite. I was doing the online stuff, so I was watching those comments come in. And as soon as Mikyung got up there to play, all sorts of things went crazy on the Facebook live stream. Hearts and you name it. Everybody was very excited to hear Mikyung play. And we'll actually be featuring the entire Battazzini concerto for this, along with a couple of excerpts, which are from her and are in Korean, but don't, if you listen and you start to hear her speak Korean, we only feature about 30 seconds or so of her chatting, and it's between movements. I had the chance to hear Mikyung live when I was at the Colburn School of Music in the fall of 2016. I went down to interview a whole host of people, including David Allen Moore, Chris Hanulek, and some others. I hung out with Brandino of Black Eyed Peas and Outkast, and I was staying actually with Peter Lloyd, who was Mikyung's bass teacher here in the States. Mikyung is originally from South Korea. She's won many competitions over there. She comes from a musical family. Her father, I think, if I remember right, was her first bass teacher, and she has performed all over the place. She's got a great career already happening, such a passionate player. She's got videos up on Facebook that have gotten almost 1 million views, so she's really connected with a lot of people just through that passionate way she has of playing this music. I know you're going to love this performance of the Battazzini Second Bass Concerto with Mikyung Soung.
솔로 악기로는 많이 하지 않고 많이 하지만 많이 하지 않고 있고 일단 솔로라는 게 어려우니까 플레잉이 그래서 일단 그거를 좀 많이 개척해 나가는 시기인 것 같고 지금이 그리고 많은 레퍼토리를 베이스로 연주할 수 있다는 그런 뭐라 해야지?
뭐 가능성들?
가능성들 그런 것들이 많이 있는 것 같고 지금 그리고 나 같은 경우는 여자니까 여자 베이스 플레이어로서 약간 좀 나아가고 싶은
오케이.
그리고 클래시컬한 굉장히 음악적인 연주자가 되고 싶은 10살 때 시작하게 됐고 처음에는 아빠한테 배우다가 이제 선생님 한국에 있는 선생님들한테 배우게 됐고 라고 얘기해야 될 것 같은데 처음에는 한국에서 대학교를 졸업하고 오디션을 2군데 정도 봤는데 다 됐었고 그렇지만 학업 그때 너무 어렸었으니까 유학을 나오게 먼저 됐고
Well, if these four are the future of bass, the future bass is in great hands, don't you think? Really inspired to hear all four of these players play, of course, but also all the people that were involved at the Bradetich competition. The great thing about competitions, and I've only done a couple competitions in my life. It's never been a big part of my life. I haven't really given a lot of thought to it, but one positive is pulling all this talent into the same place and being able to generate some buzz about the instrument and repertoire and where we're going and get some publicity outside of the bass world, which the Bradetich competition certainly did. It was featured in several media outlets throughout the Dallas area during that week. The Strad covered it extensively, and the Facebook Live coverage that connected with the bass community, that was just enormous. So I was so thankful that Jeff invited me down there to do that, and what a cool experience to sit there. The semifinals were 9 45-minute consecutive recitals. That is a lot of bass playing. But I feel like I'm a different musician after being down there and hearing all these players. I feel like my eyes are open to even more possibilities in the bass world with the instrument, where we're going, with the repertoire and the technique, and starting players younger. And this is spreading worldwide, is accelerating. It really is. And it's so exciting to be a part of this journey. So thank you for checking this out. If this is your first Contrabass Conversations episode, we do this every week, and we've been doing it since 2007. Holy cow. It's a lot of episodes. This is into the 400s now, this episode. And if you would like to follow along, the best way is to subscribe to the podcast. And you can do that at our website. You can go to contrabassconversations.com/subscribe, or just go to our website and click the subscribe button. And you can subscribe through all sorts of different methods. You can also download our app. If you don't know what subscribing to a podcast is, you probably know what an app is. That's a good way to do it. You can also get on our email list, and I'll just let you know when a new episode comes out. That's a great way to do it too. But however you connect with us, I'd love to have you on this journey with us, and I'd love to hear from you. If you email me at feedback@contrabassconversations.com, that will put you in touch with me, and I would love to know a little bit more about you, where you're from, where you're up to, what kind of bass are you playing on, what strings are you playing on, do you like to stand, do you like to sit, all that kind of good stuff. I love that. And if you have a suggestion for the show, be it a guest, a topic, more of something, less of something, whatever, let me know. That's how I shape this show. This is really, I'm the one yakking into the microphone here, but I think of this as a double bass community affair. And I would love to have you on the journey with me. Thank you for listening, and we will see you again soon for more life on the low end of the spectrum.